Hi everyone, Tally and Farrell here from Board of It, and welcome to our monthly look back video for August 2021.
Now, if you know this format, thanks for coming back. But if you don't, essentially we just go over some of the highlights of what we've played over the last month. Maybe things that we wouldn't get a chance to review, maybe because they're old games and there wouldn't be much interest. Maybe here we'll talk about games that we hated. And just, things that we might never do one of our scripted reviews on. And we like to preface each game with a little award to tell you what we think about it or give a little quick snippet of our experience. So, without further ado, we will move through and we will go to the first game. First up, we have the game which has won the Sound of Silence award. And that goes to Hadrian's Wall.
Yes, Hadrian's Wall is essentially an unwrite game, probably going into flip and write. You do flip some cards, but that's not the main crux of the game. But essentially, you are trying to help build Hadrian's Wall. And there's a lot of resource management in here. So you basically have 2 sheets that you write on, and you basically have to sort of spend resources to get resources back to build stuff, help build the wall, do some other objectives, hopefully get more resources, spend those resources, and the cycle continues. It's a really, really fun little game that we've been really enjoying. But why don't you explain why it's got the Sound of Silence award?
That would be because it is maybe the most solo game that I have ever played in my entire life. And what I mean is that this is honestly, even though, so they say it goes up to 6 people. And like, I know many roll and writes have a limit, and I guess the limit here is components, but you kind of need them because you have specific cards. And there's a system which is quite cool, where you draw 2 cards, and one you use to score VP at the end of the game, and one you use to get resources, and like a few other little things. And you really have to weigh up, be like, ooh, I probably will get the points for this, but at the same time, I need this purple man and this yellow person. And it's just like, what do I pick? But besides that, I would never play this game with more than 2 or 1, because there is absolutely no interaction, like table interaction, table talk. You're all so like focused on your own sheets of paper.
Yeah.
Like the last time we played, there was actually a point where I wanted to tell Tally something, and I was like, I started speaking, and I was like, actually, what's the point? I better just wait. Because the issue is that there's no turn structure. You just do your own thing for a round, and then you all look up and you have a communal like flip of the cards which tells you where the picks attack. But before that, essentially it is you get a heaping start of resources and people of different, colours that do different things, and you let loose. So you'll sit there and you're like, okay, I'll spend a yellow, and then I'll tick this box, and this gives me a stone, and then I'll spend the stone on the wall, and that will let me fill in this over here. And because there's a flow of consciousness and you're thinking about it continuously, you can't be interrupted or else you lose the entire thread.
You're going to knock the other person off their game, which is a bit unfair.
Yeah, and so this is the issue. Like, I would never play with 6, because if I could get 6 people around my house, I couldn't think of a worse game for a social occasion.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, we absolutely love this game. It's really good, but it's something I would quite like to play actually, maybe solo with like a nice cup of tea on a Sunday, and like sit and like move resources around.
Yeah, I think I would do that as well. I mean, we've got other roll and writes that we have played with a big group of people. Railroad Inc. being one of them. Welcome to Las Vegas. But it's just, I think that the problem is with Hadrian's Wall is the turns. There's no limit on the time, right? Which I guess there isn't in the other games, but it's so variable how long it can take the other person to run out of resources. Yeah. So sometimes you'll be on a big roll and getting loads of resources to spend, and I will have run out of resources for whatever reason. Maybe I spent it on things that are higher value at that time, or I just ran out because I wasn't doing very well and I wasn't optimizing. Yeah. And I've like gone off and done other things, like done the washing up while I'm waiting for you to finish. Yeah. It's just so variable. Whereas something like Railroad Inc. or whatever, sometimes you have to wait for people, but it's not that long. And then you can still talk to the people that have finished.
I think there's also a shared component and there's a limit. Like you say, with
that's true.
Unlimited, the turns can be longer or shorter. In Railroad Inc., there's still only 4 dice in play or whatever, right?
That's true.
People are going to get through 4 dice and then be done. And they might take a little less or more.
Yeah.
I mean, you still have this problem with roll and writes that they're quite solo, but for some reason this is thing because of this flow of consciousness. You can't make table talk.
And it gets more progressive as the rounds go on, so you're more likely to have more and more resources as it goes on. It's almost engine buildery in that respect. So the how long it takes each person to finish can really sort of branch off by the end, depending on what they focus on, how well they did in the previous rounds. Whereas, like you said, something like Railroad Inc., there's always going to be a set amount of dice, so the rounds will always take the same. But I mean, we do love it. It's really good. It's very
diverse,
thinky as well.
Yeah, chunky, thinky,
yeah.
diverse. I like how there's a lot of different routes and options, and I wouldn't say they're all equally balanced or interesting.
No.
But there's such a wealth here that it took me until our 5th or 6th game before I was like actively trying to do stuff I hadn't done, and it took that long for me to get to it.
Yeah, I don't think I've tried every action that I can out yet, or every route. So.
Yeah, I think I haven't done the temples really, or the diplomats, or so. And I guess there's maybe a personality thing, which is going to be quite interesting in what you go for. Then I do think some are like quite obviously more interesting than others, but then a lot can depend on because you're given like a set amount of resources at the beginning of every round and it's randomized. And it's one of these interesting things where you can do really good or really bad. And it's really hard to tell why that happened, but it's probably because of this like random variety that you're given and what you decided to do with it. And maybe if you have one less architect, suddenly it shoots you off in this different path.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Hadrian's Wall, I think we will definitely recommend it if you like flip and writes, roll and writes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't play it with 6 people. I'd say if you're a couple, perfect. If you're a solo gamer, also perfect. But we'd quite like to do a review of this, I think. We won't promise it, but I think it would be high on our list.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was Hadrian's Wall and Sound of Silence Award.
So next up, we have the Game as Old as Time Award. And unsurprisingly, that is going to chess.
Yes.
Do we need to explain chess?
No, I think we can leave that one. So obviously the award I think is pretty self-explanatory because chess is pretty damn old. And the reason that we have a Harry Potter wizard chess set is because my mother bought it for me or asked for Christmas. And I don't know why, but that was the thing she picked.
You like Harry Potter?
Yeah.
Me?
I mean, I like the books, so I don't like the movies. So this is a bit more. But anyway, before we go on a Harry Potter tirade, that's why we have a wizarding chess set. And also related is that my mother plays a lot of chess, and she really got back into it. I think, basically during COVID, because they have this really. My mum has this beautiful like quartz. Chessboard, it's like weighs like kilos and kilos, and
been in storage for years and years, right? And they got it out.
They brought it back from Florida because we used to live out there. And that's where it was stored. So they started playing all the time, her and her boyfriend, and now she's like addicted. And so she visited us recently, and she tortured me by making me play. One day we played for 6 hours. And I think I only won like one game the entire time, or 2 games. No, 1 game, I think, out of like 10 or 11.
She's got more experience than you.
Yeah, she smashed me. The problem is I'm too impetuous, I think, and I play a lot of board games reactively, and like my gut just tells me what to do. And I think in chess you can't really do that because you have to sit and foresee everything.
Very analytical.
So I fall into like a stupid move a lot of the time.
Yeah, this is why I'm really excited to play you actually, because I think it might be something that I can beat you at. Like you probably maybe, your gung-ho attitude might get you into trouble, and I might actually be able to beat you just because of that. So I'm looking forward to playing you. I did play a couple of games with Farrell's mum when she was over, and I've actually never played chess. It was my first time playing. I think I've maybe played around with the chessboard when I was a kid or whatever, but first serious game, and I did really, really enjoy it. And it was good that she could teach me and everything. So I'm looking forward to playing against you.
Well, so this is saying we like if you'd be interested in seeing me and Tally's first chess game live. You should let us
live stream.
Yeah, you should let us know, and we can make a playthrough of it and our first game against each other. So we haven't played against each other yet.
No.
But yeah, so we played a lot with Mum, and she thrashed me. And also, she's really harsh about it. Like even in like your first game, like if you take your finger off the piece, she's like, no take backs. So
fair.
And then I also played with a friend actually for the first time. That was quite a good game. It was a weird one actually because it was really tight and tense, and like it was really difficult to move because it was really stalemated. And then all of a sudden it just fell apart, and I lost like really quickly.
Okay.
Like within like a couple of moves towards the end.
Has he played a lot of chess?
I reckon he has.
Yeah.
I tried to get I tried to get out of him how many games he's had, and he wouldn't tell me.
Okay.
Which is
okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so we just thought we'd say. I mean, I think you enjoyed yourself right more than you thought.
Yeah, I really
enjoyed
did.
it.
Yeah, actually. I actually feel like I might be quite good at it if I could practice a bit more. Your mum said I had the makings of a good player.
I think she says that to everyone. She said that to me.
You keep saying that, but I don't know. I think you're lying. I think
She
that's
said that
fake
to me.
news. I'm going to ask her.
All right, but yeah, and as we're taping this right before we fly, so I'm actually back home. So I'm sure we'll have a lot more chess to talk about next time.
Yeah, that's true. We can play with the nice quartz set.
Well, they have two now. They got like a portable table one that they can take outside, where it's like magnetic. Or maybe Simone's just said about that. But yeah, so that was chess and the game as old as time award. Next up, we have the Mother's Favourite Award, which, leading on from playing chess with Mother, we also made her play a lot of other games. And Cascadia, as a highlight, was one of her highlights. We have a review on that if you want to check that out. Cascadia is awesome. It's one of our favourite games of the year. But the game that got Mother's Favourite Award is Catan, because we actually played this for the first time with her ever, because we haven't played it before.
No, it was the longest shelf of shame we had, like nearly, I think it was around a year. And we're usually really good at playing our games when we get them within the month, but this was the longest one. Oh, it's a bit dusty still.
Yeah. I think the issue was for us that essentially I bought it and I didn't realise it wasn't for two players. So then it made it a lot harder to play because we have all these like games, right? If you've got Barrage and Scythe, it's very hard to get Catan off the shelf to play with three people if you have someone round.
Yeah.
So that's why. And then, because I knew it was like, original OG family game kind of thing, we decided to try it out with Mother and we played it. And she quite enjoyed it probably more than anyone else. She actually won the first game. And Tally absolutely despises Catan.
This is my new mortal enemy.
So why don't you tell us about that?
I just, I get that it's a bit of an older game. Probably people really love it because it's got some nostalgia attached to it, right? And went viral or whatever when it was first released.
Viral in the 90s, yeah.
You know what I mean? And maybe we've just come to this too late in our board game career, but I really, really hated it because I just spent most of my turns saying, can't do anything, pass, can't do anything, pass. And it's just a bit boring, to be honest. And maybe just because I got shafted by the dice rolling every time and none of my settlements were generating any resources for me. Nobody wanted to trade with me. So every time, pass, pass, pass. And that's just not that fun, really.
Do you want to, just interrupt here, do you want to enjoy hundreds of hours of fast-paced interactive fun?
I would strongly disagree with that statement. I mean, fast. No, to be fair, it is
Game
fast-paced.
of the century.
It's fast-paced because I just say pass every turn.
Yeah.
And I just think it went on way too long for a game where you spend half the time saying pass. So I found it surprisingly long, our games, and I just wanted it to end.
Sure. I mean, it wasn't 60 minutes, I'll tell you that.
No, maybe you could obviously, reduce the amount of VP needed to end the game to make it shorter, but there wasn't enough in there for me to make it warrant lasting so as long as it did. Mm-hmm. And Yeah, it's just boring to me. Like, many apologies to any Catan fans out there, but
Ben Wyatt's a pretty big Catan fan.
Yeah, sorry, Ben. Do feel bad about that, but yeah, get some better games in your life, Ben.
Cones of Dunshire.
Yeah, that's true. He has got Cones of Dunshire. What did you think about it?
So, Mum really liked it the first time, maybe because she won. And then I thought she went a bit off on it.
Yeah,
the second one
she didn't
when
enjoy
I won
it as much.
Because I think maybe she had a little more. A little more time spent not doing much.
Yeah.
But she did ask for us to bring it when we come back. So she said she did enjoy it in the end.
Okay.
She liked it. So maybe if you I don't know, if you're trying to introduce games to your family, she liked it because there wasn't too much to keep track of. And it was just very simple. You roll the dice, you get some resources, you have a little player board, it tells you what you need to trade them in. That's kind of it.
Yeah.
So I think she said specifically that was why she liked it.
What else did we teach her in that week that she thought was too much? Yeah, maybe
Parks she kind of got the second time.
Yeah.
Cascadia she got pretty quickly at the first game. There was one though that she was like, "Oh, this is really tough," and we were like,
Yeah, so I think in comparison, she was like, "Oh, Catan, that's like just a nice level of complexity at that point." Because I think we'd maybe try to get.
Yeah, this was one of the last games, probably the last game we played with her actually. But yeah, I mean, I'm ambivalent. I think I'd probably play with her. Maybe I'd like it better with 4 people because we played with 3.
No, just drag it out even more for me.
But yeah, it's like this whole luck thing, right? Like I think in our first game, I didn't get a dice roll go my way. I think I was on like 9 points for 10 rounds and not one dice roll went my way, and I didn't get any resources for all that time. And you guys kept getting like your double wheats or whatever. And so it was just, I was just sat there while you got frustrated essentially.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm more ambivalent on it, I think. It's obviously not going to be my favourite game, but
no.
I wouldn't.
Don't hate it.
At the moment, I wouldn't refuse it. Maybe in a while.
Okay.
But yeah. So that was our thoughts on why we hate Catan.
So moving on, the next award is the George Orwell Award, and that goes to Euphoria. And obviously it gets the George Orwell Award because it is set in a dystopia, essentially. It's a Stonemaier game, and it's turn optimization, resource management game with some dice management thrown in. So essentially you'll be rolling some dice and placing those dice in spaces on the board, and there's going to generate you resources. And you essentially have to race to get to 10 stars. And you get the stars by spending commodities, resources, building markets, and doing some other objectives, essentially.
Yeah, you can get these cards called relics, which are like relics from the old world.
Yeah, like a teddy bear, some balloons.
Baseball bat.
Yeah. You also have to manage your workers' knowledge, because if they get too smart, they realise they're in a dystopia and bad things happen basically. So you always have to make sure that your knowledge is not too high. So you always have to manage to keep the knowledge down, because essentially if you roll your dice and it gets to over 16, then that's bad. They're too knowledgeable.
Yeah, and you lose them, and it's not good.
Yeah,
it's an interesting one though in terms of that element of it, because you can definitely get through the game with just 2 workers, but you can go up to 4, but then it's like a lot more dangerous and tricky.
Yeah.
So it's like some people will just ignore it, some people will go for 4 straight away.
I never get more workers. I always just stick with the 2.
I usually try and get 1 if it matches with my recruits, which are cards that give you little powers, and because they belong to a faction and you want to max out that faction track by like using that faction, you tend to go for the resources that they produce, and then if it matches up to what you need to get a worker, then maybe I'll do it.
We've got a review coming out of Euphoria, and also the expansion Ignorance is Bliss coming out on Sunday. So watch out for that if you want to hear a full review. But anything more to say at this stage? Yeah,
I mean, so we played a 6-player game of this actually, which was last month, but we played it more this month, so we bundled it all together, and it was pretty good. It was actually it wasn't too bad. wasn't too chaotic.
No.
I don't think it changed actually, surprisingly, because we've mainly played at 2 or 3, and it didn't really change at 6. So
No,
that was
I
pretty
don't
good.
think so.
Yeah, there's a lot like because this is quite an old, well, not quite an old game. It's 8 years old, but comparatively, I think it holds up pretty well actually.
Yeah.
Really willing to play this, and actually, it's one of our friends' favorite games. He really likes it.
Yeah.
And it's just a nice little. I like how quick the turns are. I like the kind of resource conversion management.
Yeah.
I like that the recruits give you little powers. I like that the marketplaces give you penalties if you didn't help build them.
Yeah.
Then you have to consider that, and like it kind of throws you off your game for a while.
I think we quite like race games as well.
Yeah,
so
the race
that's
of stars.
a good element for us, and it really is just like first to 10 stars.
Yeah.
So the race element there, and the play time is like a
Pretty
nice
quick.
length for the game.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. And now with the expansion, they modify a few of the rules to like streamline everything. So now it's even quicker, like at 2 players, because you can flip your second recruit quicker, and then you can get star quicker, and
Yeah, it's nice and bright as well.
Yeah.
Shout out to the storage solution as well.
Oh yeah, game trays.
It's game trays, right? Yeah, it's amazing.
Really easy to set up and put away.
Yeah.
That's really appreciated. Like the resources, like generally the theme. I'm a pretty big dystopian, like fiction fan.
Yeah.
So it's a nice theme as well.
Yeah.
Everything's kind of, they're funny names for like the spaces you send workers, or the marketplaces, or little things like that.
Yeah, there's a touch of humour in there as well, which is, I always enjoy that. It's nice and bright. The components are nice. It's just
It's just a really like solid
game.
I think it's not going to set the world alight, particularly now that it's been a couple of years.
Yeah.
But it's a very solid game. We enjoy having in our collection.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to know more and also about the expansion, you can check out our review.
And the next award is the Relationship Ender Award, and that goes to Intrepid.
Gigantic box. Whew,
Why
it's a
don't
heavy
you
one.
explain it, Intrepid?
So this was a Kickstarter that recently fulfilled, and we backed. And essentially the theme is that you're an astronaut on the International Space Station, or ISS from this point, and some sort of disaster has happened, and you need to all work together to fix it and survive, essentially. So yeah, the game's it's a cooperative game about survival on the ISS. And what's cool is that, so you play it through dice manipulation and dice rolling, and you put these, a bit like Euphoria, you put them in slots, and they're called modules, and they do something. So pretty much always they produce a type of resource, and there's 4 types of resources, and you need to firstly keep them all above like the red level, and secondly have enough excess to complete missions by siphoning them off to complete a task. So yeah, it's like you'll start with a couple of dice, you'll roll them, you'll have some numbers, and then a module will say, if you put a dice that's between 2 and 5 here, you will get 6 food. And then maybe you don't have that, but maybe another one, if you can put dice between 1 and 6 there, it will let you modify another dice by re-rolling it or something. Or when you use the space, roll 3 dice, take 2 out, and then you can hopefully get the numbers you need. So yeah, there's this puzzle of manipulation and in what order to do these modules, because you'll run out of dice eventually. And also just how to produce enough to survive, and then how to produce enough to complete these missions. And it's actually, I like it more than I thought. It was kind of an impulse back. But the reason it gets the Relationship Ender Award is because it's cooperative, and kind of like, you all share the resources, and in a 2-player game, Tally will produce 2 different resources, I'll produce 2 different resources. So if one person doesn't produce enough, like there's not much you can do at the time of them manipulating the dice.
Yeah.
You can kind of send dice over to them, but it's also sometimes a little bit hard because you're in your own puzzle, like manipulating. And once you've done something, you can't really go back because it's like, I'll put a dice here, roll 2 dice, okay, I have a new number now. Then if you're like, oh wait, I need to do it in a different order.
Yeah, you can't really walk that.
Yeah, because how are you going to unroll the dice that you've then used, if you know what I mean?
It's a bit difficult to keep track of what the values were to begin with if you've manipulated the values. So it's very hard to walk. You can maybe walk back 1 or 2 steps, but further than that you can't.
But essentially, it's because we've lost both times we've played. And I got really angry.
Yeah. It's the thing that I like about this game is also why it's a relationship ender, because a lot of the time, obviously, in co-op, you can get a bit of quarterbacking and the other person obviously just tells the other person what to do. Whereas that doesn't happen here because you're so involved in your own puzzle. It's basically impossible to get involved in the other person's puzzle, like you said.
Just sorry, as a side note to explain this, you each take on an astronaut.
Yeah.
And the astronauts are all different nationalities. And they come with their own modules that you use to manipulate the dice, and they each work in different ways, like each astronaut. So each astronaut is a different puzzle in the way you manipulate these dice and get the commodities. But
yeah, exactly. So, for instance, in my one, I had to have a lot of double dice. So I had to have like 2, 3 value dice, for instance, but yours are slightly different.
Mine's like a lot of re-rolling to get the ones you need.
Yeah. So it's difficult to help the other person in that regard as well as the fact that you just, you're very involved in your own little puzzle, and I may or may not have miscalculated how much power we needed or something.
We were 2 turns away from winning our first game of this, and you basically didn't do addition right.
No, do you know what it is? It's because it's the amber area that threw me off.
Yeah.
So you have to produce enough so that you don't go into the red, like Farah said, but there's also an amber area, and the amber area is also not good. So I don't know, just confused. I was so focused on making sure that we didn't go into the red that I kind of forgot that the orange was also bad. That's what happened.
Yeah. But I was furious because I was just like...
so mad.
It was just, we were so close to being it. And I was like, literally, once we get past this round, it's like so easy going. Yeah. Just need to have enough to survive. And then it was just like, I didn't add right. Yeah. And then we exploded. So yeah. But honestly, like I said, I enjoy it a lot more than we thought. Not that we thought it'd be terrible, obviously, but just didn't have many expectations, I guess. I think there are some issues with, component quality, like things have come damaged. Like ours was a little bit damaged, but not as bad as some people's on the Kickstarter page that I've seen.
Some of the stuff's a bit misaligned, isn't it?
Yeah, misaligned. But we got off mostly okay. But I will say some of the stuff, so this is like game trace as well. I will say that a lot of it is it's like weird because it's like kind of come a bit broken, and some stuff is really good quality and some stuff isn't. But like the dice, which are the main part, they are really nice quality. I really like them. They're like metallic, like heavy. Yeah. And they have like unique designs. I just really like the dice. And they're like, you have all different colors for different players. And this is like 1 to 4 players. But yeah, I mean, this is one that we've just really not had the chance to play that much. No. And I really, really want to play it more. Yeah. Because you have different disasters as well, and you have different astronauts. And so yeah, this is one I look forward to playing. Yeah. But hopefully our relationship survives.
And coming to our final award, which is Best Dog in Show Award. And that obviously goes to Dog Park. We were sent Dog Park preview copy for us to make a preview video by Birdwood Games. So thanks for that. We've been enjoying it. But Farrell, why don't you explain a bit about the game?
So I think when you first look at this, you'd probably think it's Wingspan but with dogs. But it's actually definitely not like that. And you think that because it comes with a big deck of cards, and they're dog cards, and each dog is a unique breed, and they have a little cost on them, and they have a little action they do in certain instances. Yeah. So obviously that's where your mind would go, and also the artwork in that kind of, watercolor painted. Yeah. But it's hard to describe because it does a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely it's a bit of a lighter game. I think you could say it's family weight because nothing's too complex here. Like there's definitely enough strategy and crunch that most people enjoy it. Very similar to Wingspan in that way, but I think it's a little bit lighter and there's less things to explain, if you know what I mean. And the concepts are a bit simpler, I think.
There's the concepts are simple, but then there is quite a lot of concepts that come together, right? Then maybe that's where the kind of complexity.
No, I guess maybe what I mean is that I think we could teach this pretty easily to anyone, but in terms of maybe doing well and being strategic would be a whole other thing.
Yeah,
I guess in that, because you're right. There's a lot of things. So essentially, what it is a mix of like auction, set collection, resource management, and worker placement. So it's easier to just go through the rounds. And the first round is essentially the auction round, where there's a bunch of dogs in the field and you take them home, I guess.
You want to walk them.
Yeah, well, you take them home, put them in your kennel first.
Yeah.
So these dogs are like put out and players will in turn order, like pick what dog they want to bid on, and then secretly with the dial bid a number. And this is what I love about this game, because it's really clever twist, is that you bid with your VP, which are called reputation points. So obviously you can, if you really want a dog, you can probably win it, but like how much VP are you willing to lose? And is that lost VP worth just getting another dog?
Is it worth the net VP in a game?
And why you care what dogs you get is because you'll randomize breed awards. And basically it's a very simple concept of that. The dogs are divided into almost like job titles. So you have like gun dogs, which are hunting dogs. You have utility dogs, which are dogs bred for a specific purpose. Toy dogs, and so on. Retrievers, terriers, things like that. And these cards are shuffled and they're organized randomly. And some will be worth a lot of VP, some will be worth a little VP. And it's to whoever has the most or ties for the most. So if a utility dog comes up and it's worth 8 VP at the end of the game to have the most, everyone's going to want that utility dog. So you have this bidding round and you bid, and then you have a second bidding round. So you'll get 2 dogs.
Per round.
Yeah, per round. And then there's 4 rounds in the game. And then you'll basically have to do resource management, where you have to pay goods and resources to take them on a walk. And sometimes they have little powers that activate when you do this, sometimes activate when you go on a walk, sometimes activate in final scoring. But so you have to kind of resource manage and have the right resources or convert them to take them out. And the more you can take out, the better, because you get points for walking dogs and you lose points for having unwalked dogs. Then, once you've done that, you have this kind of worker placement phase where you walk along a trail and each space will give you an option to manipulate cards, resources, or VP. And it's very much like parks, where you move down like a straight line, although you can diverge. And you can't go with you can go with someone else's, but you don't get the reward unless you spend a reputation point. So you move along, you get resources, and the quicker you get out, the more VP you get. And if you're the last one out, you lose VP, but hopefully you've got more resources. And then you just kind of score up for how many dogs you've walked, any, powers or whatever. Yeah. And then you kind of do it all again until you've done it 4 times. So you have these very different game mechanics that come together quite well. Yeah. So when you say, now I'll describe it, what do you think?
Yeah, do really like it. Like you said, I think quite distinct stages, but they all make sense in the context of the theme as well. Like you're really on like a little journey of getting some dogs to walk and then choosing which ones to walk, paying the resources. But like you said in the beginning, when you bid for the dogs, you don't always necessarily bid for the breed awards at the end to get the most. Actually, might be that you want another dog because that's going to get you a good power that might get you more resources, so that next time you can walk more dogs. And so it's not always just everyone bidding for the same dog.
Well, what's clever as well is that you could alternatively just pay 1 VP, get any old dog. And then what you get to do is on the walk, there's a space that lets you swap out cards from your kennel to kind of the main board. So if a better dog comes up, you can just go to that space and like tactically swap it out. Yeah. Now you have a better dog, although it will probably be unwalked. But if it helps you get 8 VP at the end, then it's worth it.
True. There's a lot of risk reward analysis in this game. I think, like from the initial auction phase, like, do I want to risk bidding 5 of my victory points or reputation points, and then actually nobody else even wants that dog.
Yeah,
so you've
that's
wasted all of your
it's
points.
Always brutal when you bid like 3 or 4 and no one goes there, and you're like, oh.
Exactly. So that's like risk as well. And then when you move through the trail, that's a lot of risk reward. Do you want to move through the trail quite fast? Because if you get to the end of the trail the quickest, you get victory points, but then you're probably going to lose out on resources. So maybe you would do that one round. The other round, you need to get resources.
Yeah.
You need the resources to walk the dogs. Or do you risk it and take the trail kind of slower and step by step and get more resources, take the hit at the end of the trail and get a negative point for being the last out of the park, but then you've got loads of resources and you can walk more dogs next time. So I think that's really cool, like every step. A lot of different sort of mechanics, but I think the thing that ties it all together is risk reward.
Yeah. No, it definitely grew on me, actually. I think the first play, I think there's a few things that I was a bit questionable about, and then we've played 4 or 5 times now, and it's really grown on me. I think the one thing we would say is that it's better with more players.
Yeah.
It's not that it's bad with less, but when you have a full 4, obviously the bidding becomes much more important and more exciting.
The trail's more exciting.
I think I'd rather play, I think, at 2 or at 4, because I think at 3 it becomes a little bit first or last is so important.
Yeah.
And if you have 3 players, it doesn't equally move around the table and someone gets an advantage.
That's true. Yeah.
Because if you go last, then you basically have like the best chance of getting the dog you want in the bidding round, because you get to see what everyone else has done.
Yeah.
And then if there's one that's good for you that no one's bid on, you can just bid 1 and get it, and they lose all their victory points. And if you're first, then you get first pick on the dog walk, and you can like get to the end quicker just by virtue of number of turns. Yeah. And with 3, you have this kind of imbalance, and I think that could maybe...
That's true. I mean, the art's obviously really beautiful. The dog cards are so cute.
Yeah, I love
them.
They're all unique, and there's so many of them, and they all have a little fact as well.
Yeah,
and it's really awesome.
Yeah, they tell you something about the dog, don't they? And also the powers often tie in with like the breed tendencies. Yeah, and that's really cute as well.
Yeah, so I think because we're going to be putting out a preview of this in like 2 weeks when it goes live on Kickstarter. So we won't say too much more because we'll probably repeat a lot of what we've said now. But that is Dog Park, and it's won the award for Best in Show because we have really enjoyed it. I think I'd really actually like to bring it home for this week, but I think there's just too many components and different pieces.
We've only got a little case, you see.
Yeah. But that was Dog Park.
So this has been our monthly look back video for August 2021. Thanks so much for watching, and we'd really appreciate it if you could give us a thumbs up on this video. And if you're not already subscribed, please do so. And we'd love to know your comments about the game, any of the games that we talked about. Any questions you have about any of them that we talked about, please ask us down below. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.